Well, I finally took a break from all the tier list content and actually decided to play in the Duelist Cup itself and hit D level max finally. And of course the deck I used was Naturia Runick. I'm not suggesting this is the best deck or anything, especially for stage 2. This is more of me trying to do an experiment and to see how one Runick Fountain actually affects these Runick combo decks. So we're testing it with Naturia Runick, which I believe is going to be the best Runick combo deck moving forward, assuming people will still play these at all. The Bishop Runick deck is cool, the one that Josh went with, but we're missing SP, which is actually the best card in the deck. So I'm reserving judgment until we get all the cards for the Bishop Runick. But from my play testing and from like the dozens of games I've played, and how the one fountain actually affects this deck, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or unpleasantly surprised depending on how you feel about these decks, about how the Runick Fountain hit actually doesn't affect even the Runick combo versions too much in this current Master Duel format. Now the main thing is it will affect your high roll hands where you can draw Moth Fountain multiple times. You know, that's you won't draw 6 cards a turn all the time. Now you still can use Fountain multiple times if from your first Fountain draw you draw enough Runick spells, like say 3 or 2 or 3 Runick spells. You can actually, there's a line where you make Baron and you pop your own Fountain, then add it back with Gary, and then sync off the Gary with like a Naturia Camellia into something else extra like a Dugaris or a Cypher Lord Omega, and then you have Fountain up. And then if you have an extra Runick spell, then you can still get the draw out that way. You can still use Fountain multiple times. Your hand is that good, but usually those hands those hands where you were able to get the multiple Fountain draws before, you would already have like a Baron plus possibly a Nat Beast or another Synchro up, and then establish Fountain with drawing 3 cards. Like you were most likely winning those games already, regardless of whether you got the second Fountain draw or not. And that's largely the same with just one Fountain. Like I've never lost a game where I set up Baron Nat Beast plus drew 3 off Fountain and I didn't get the second draw off Fountain. Like oh no, man, like that's still effectively an FTK against 90% of decks in this game. Now the main thing is that people aren't really playing cards that would hurt your Fountain in this meta. For example, Cosmic Cyclone. It's been months since I've gotten hit by an opposing Cosmic Cyclone. That's like the worst thing to deal with, and that's the weakness of having one Fountain, is the resiliency of if you lose your Fountain in any way, shape, or form, that it's almost impossible to get it back. Unfortunately for this meta, people aren't playing very many ways to actually do that, because Fountain is Cosmic is the hardest thing to play through. Like there's other stuff like Fender, but Fender is a monster, so that means it's very vulnerable to your actual Runick spells. Like if they have a Fender on board, you Runick Flashing Fire it, or you Runick Freezing Curses it, or tip for one of those, and then you move on with your day, right? There's no like trying to guess if they have a Cosmic Cyclone face talent, then I actually can't play my Fountain, otherwise there's a chance I lose the game on the spot. That's not really like a mini game I've had to partake in this format. And like the other ways to lose Fountain, which is the actual more annoying ones, the actual real ways that you will lose Fountain in this format is random banishes off Kashtira Rise Heart against the Kashtira matchup. I've had my Fountain banished off the Rise Heart effect before, and that was really bad. And opposing Runick decks, which are not as common as they were before, obviously, because the Fountain hit. But yeah, if their opposing Runick player banishes your own Fountain, then you're actually like in for a hard spot. But thankfully Kashtira is only a semi-common matchup, and again of the stun variants I've played, most of them were actually even like non-Runick. I don't know if that's just the thing with stage 1, but I haven't faced like very many like a Runick mirror match at all where they could banish my Fountain. And as long as Runick is not such a big part of the metagame that people are actually playing specific hate for it, such as Cosmic Cyclone, then the one Fountain is actually way more manageable than they would seem. Because any conventional way through monster effects, such as Fenrir and Chaos Angel, you have counterplay to that. It's just the Cosmic Cyclone and stuff like that it's just really hard to have counterplay for. That's what would kill your deck. And thankfully, those are, as I mentioned, those are not really common right now. Obviously, the consistency of having Runick Fountain go into 2-1, it's really not a consistent hit at all. Like I literally replaced the one fountain with another Runick spell, and there. Now I have the exact same number of fountains that I had before, so that's not really an issue at all with the hit. And I guess some random interactions of having one fountain instead of two are like, sometimes the Runick Fountain becomes a brick, and by that I mean is if you already have the fountain, you cannot legally use Hugin's effect because you have no other targets. I don't think there's another even card in the game that you can actually search that's not the fountain. So yeah, because you can't use Hugin's effect, then you can't discard. And because you can't discard, these Naturia Sacred Trees that you have in hand, or possibly that you drew off your fountain, they're gonna remain in your hand. So yeah, you have to get creative on how you deal with this. One way is to very simply, you can just set them and pop it with Baron. That's like the most common way you can make use of them out of your hand. If your opponent has a board, obviously, then you can make use of Core Dragon and make use of Ravenous Crocodile Dragon Arctis to discard these. I've actually used Arctis to there are 2 Sacred Trees from my hand before to pop my own fountain, so I could get search Double Blessing and then get the additional fountain draw by adding back with Gary. That was my opponent was not very happy when I did that, and I ended up with like a 5k attack Crocodile Dragon on my opponent's turn. And the other thing, obviously, with only one fountain is, if you have fountain and you can't use Hugin, that means you can't use Hugin to help chain block your fountain draw. So that's sometimes big, although usually you're not chain blocking from Ash, because from what I've noticed is people are more likely to just Ash the Hugin or Ash the tip to get you the fountain in the first place, as opposed to ashing the fountain draw, because you'd rather than just not get fountain in the first place. So it comes up if, I suppose, they have multiple hand jobs and they in-perm your Hugin, and then they still have to ash for the fountain. Although you would never get that far in the first place right now if they negate your Hugin in any ways, so like that you wouldn't have a fountain chain block in the first place. So it's not really a big deal. It affects your ability to hard draw fountain. That's how you would beat getting your Hugin and your Runick tip negated, which I guess not being able to draw hard draw fountain is a big deal. It is really nice to hard draw one fountain. Most of the time though you won't notice too big of a difference with just the one fountain. So if you still want to play a Runick combo deck, it's still viable, as long as Runick is not like some top tier deck and people don't really respect it. And they won't play like Cosmics for it. You can play a deck like this fine as like a rogue or like a lower tier strategy. So moving on to, I guess, like card choices in the deck, that everything, like all the Runick cards and all the Naturia cards are like self-explanatory. Okay, the only interesting parts of the main deck are my selections for non-engine, because Runick is a deck that does not have room for non-engine, and we're playing Master Duel, so 3 of your non-engine automatically goes to Max C. So you only have 6 flex spots in your main deck, and the 6 flex spots I chose for non-engine are 3 evenly matched and 3 droplets. The droplets is very unorthodox, and I'll definitely get to a detailed explanation on this later, but evenly matched is probably the best catch-all non-engine for Runick. It's a board breaker that it covers the most matchup. It does not cover everything, which is where the droplets come in, but if you're looking for a single card that when resolve does the most damage to the most matchups, and it has like the best matchup spread, then it's probably evenly matched. And after that, Runick is probably the one deck that unironically, it uses evenly matched the best out of any deck. Even though you would think, right, not having a battle phase, but all you need to use evenly matched is your first battle phase. And because of that, you have 16, I play 16 Runick spells. So that means you have 16 cards that can bait negations that could negate your evenly match. You enter battle phase, and then you Flashing Fire or Freezing Curses or Destruction away their possible negates onto your evenly matched. And if you don't have those 7 these like I'm gonna use this 9 specific runic spells. Any runic spell can become a Gary, which you can just crash into any attack position monster. People will generally not play around the Gary crash in game 1 because, you know, who the hell is playing Runick these days? So Gary is a legitimate board breaker, and you can just throw as many runic spells into your opponent until they're out of things that can negate evenly match, and then you just evenly match them. And then evenly match will almost always resolve if you play it properly in Runick. So the Forbidden Droplets then is to cover the matchups where evenly is not good against, which the two main matchups where evenly is not good against are 1, Math Mech, because again this deck still gets hit really hard by Super Factorial, and evenly match does not hit Super Factorial in the slightest. Whereas if you have Forbidden Droplets, right, you can, if you don't already have a spare monster on field or spare monster in hand to send with Forbidden Droplets, you can, when they chain their Super Factorial, you chain a runic spell to it, to the Super Factorial, and then on resolution, after they make their replacement, they detach for replacement, you should have a runic monster on the field. You can even use its effect if you want, like a Gary or a Hugin if you have a trigger, and then you Forbidden Droplets send the runic monster you just summoned, and that will negate the location. And because you sent a monster, location will not be able to negate it with the diameter negate. So you effectively nullify the location send to plus its negate with the Forbidden Droplets. So that's one way. So that's how Droplets covers the Math Mech matchup. And other matchup that evenly is not that great against is Pearly, specifically X Pearly Gnar. As you can tell, this deck actually has no outs to Gnar at all. You could consider running a Goddess in the extra deck actually, although most of the time Pearly players will play like you have a Goddess anyways, so usually the threat of Goddess is bigger than actually having the Goddess itself. And how Forbidden Droplets beats X Pearly Gnar is the minute they get to below 5 materials, you do the same thing as you did with against Math Mech. You send a monster for Droplet in any way, and then they can't respond to it with the Gnar anymore. So once it goes below 5 materials, they can't chain any additional spins, and any spins that they did in the same chain are also negated. That's like the most efficient way to deal with Gnar, so that it can possibly just not spin anything. And with Delicious Memory going from 3 to 2, it's actually harder for them to get 7 materials under Gnar first. A lot of times they have to resort to Eep even just to make Gnar, and if they resort to Eep, then you have way more outs to it, because then Runick Flashing Fire becomes another out to the Eep. You just chain it to their trap card. But yeah, a lot of times if they'll have like a 6 material, you can just negate it after 1. If they have a 7, the worst case scenario is if they have like 7 material Gnar, then you have to bait out 2 spins. So you just have to play into it, and then probably they either use their spins early, or if they want to sit on a Gnar, then you can just play into it, and then you'll eventually get to the point where they'll have to spin multiple of your cards. And if they mess up and do it all in one chain, then Forbidden Droplet just eats the Gnar. Yeah, I guess another matchup you might think that doesn't get covered by both evenly matched and Droplets is Kashtira. That even Forbidden Droplets, notable dead card versus Kashtira or Rise Heart, and then evenly matched, notable doesn't actually answer Kashtira Rise Heart. But that's the thing, because this deck actually doesn't mind a Rise Heart itself. In fact, if you a Rise Heart pass versus this deck, you're gonna lose, because this deck has placed 7 outs to a Rise Heart, the 2 tip, the Flashing Fire, and the Freezing Curses. So yeah, it's the Rise Heart is not usually the problem with this deck versus the Cash matchup. It's literally everything else. It's the Fender that threatens you, banishes your Fountain anytime you want to play it. It's their Kashtira Birth, which basically means Fountain cannot ever resolve, because they'll just banish whatever resources or whatever Runick spells or whatever Naturia monster you have engraved whenever you literally activate any card in your deck. Even the Kashtira preparations, if people are on the trap card, it triggers off of the Naturia Sacred Tree add. So like you can't even use the Sacred Tree as like your consistency if they have the Kashtira prep on the field. Otherwise, you're gonna just get hand loop the card in your hand. Like, all of that stuff is like more annoying than the Rise Heart itself. That's why Evenly is actually good for that matchup, because it Evenly puts some Kashtira on just a Rise Heart, and just a Rise Heart you can beat with just Engine in this deck most of the time. You know, it's just, you're not gonna, you know, there's a chance you don't draw your outs to the Rise Heart, but like statistically, you're more likely to than not. Like, just generally outside of just the Math Mech and the Furry matchup, Forbidden Droplet has been an insane card. It has overperformed greatly. There's so many random applications where Forbidden Droplets is just randomly insane. Like, most of the time it's free, like, just because you have infinite fodder to send if you don't have to specifically make a monster be unable to respond to Droplet. It pushes evenly matched through. It's like, on top of the 16 Runick spells, it's another 3 cards that can just negate whatever is gonna negate the evenly match, because you evenly match and they've used their negate. Then you chain Droplet, send the evenly match for negate their negate, and then you still, at the end of that chain, you still only control 1 card in the field because you send the evenly match. So it's the same, you banish the same number of cards as if you just resolve the evenly match normally. So that's huge. And then it clears your EMZ. That's another thing, is sometimes if you don't draw the like necessary Naturia monsters, or if you just draw that damn Smile as your only Naturia monster, which I do way too often, and your Hugin gets negated, you actually can't get and you can't clear your EMZ. You actually can't get away the Fountain, and you can't get away the Engine, which Forbidden Droplets, you know, solves that. It negates, it's a negate interruption, and it clears your EMZ so that you can summon more Runick fusions. It also, if your opponent has something on the field, it allows you to dodge their targeted negations such as Imperm and Baylor on your Hugin. It's godly versus the Vanquish Soul matchup, which is one of the most popular decks in the game right now, and probably one of the best picks for Stage 2. Vanquish Souls is like, this deck has an 80-20 Vanquish Soul matchup. I don't think I've lost to a single Vanquish Soul played Naturia Runick. And this is like, I did most of my testing against Vanquish Souls post like counter limit, by the way. This is with 1 Fountain, and this deck just destroys Vanquish Souls. First of all, Naturia Sunflower already FTKs the deck. They go like what, normal Raisin, you Naturia Sunflower negate, mill 2 for Camellia, they chain their extender like Caesar Valius or Heavy Borgard to try and save their rosin. You Sunflower again. So they run Sunflower, you just took out their normal summon and you took out their extender. You took out their starter and their extender, their 2 best cards. And they don't even have a monster on field to make rock with. And that's just the Naturia cards, okay? Like, don't get me started on like what happens when you draw Runics or like you establish, God forbid, an Omni-Negate like Baron with it. Also, the Vanquishers has absolutely zero text versus Runick. You have, again, you have a 6. What is this? 3 droplets, 3 flashing fire, 2 freezing curses, 2 tips. So that's like 4, 7, 10. You have 10 cards that effectively just say that turn Rock into an effect veiler in the draw phase, or just get rid of it. So Rock literally accomplishes nothing. It has no text versus you, never does anything, and if they don't have a Rock, that's like a decent portion of their interruption most of the time. Yeah, you don't even need to evenly them. And the extra deck is mostly standard. Everything here is standard except maybe the Omega, the Crocodile, and the Trishla. So the Trishla is because, ideally, I think, what's that card? I think Cyber Slash Hybrid Lady is a better card than Trishla, since Cyber Slash it does stuff on both players' turns, whereas Trishla is just on your turn, and it requires an extra Mulk trigger on the field. Whereas this you can just make with Camellia and Gary. And if you don't know what this card does, it's basically when you activate a quick play spell, you can just bounce a card. Bounce a monster. And another interaction for Droplets is a quick play spell, so technically you can trigger it off of Droplets too, not just Runick spells. But yeah, this card's nice, but it's just again, this is like the 15th extra deck slot, so I don't think I've ever needed to make either Trishula or Cyber Slash Harpy Lady at all in my testings, and I just happened to roll Trishula for free from the Ice Barrier pack, so that's the one I have. And yeah, generally I've never made the card in this slot anyways, so this could be anything you could put in Excitonite or whatever. It doesn't really matter what this slot is. The Crocodile Dragon I actually like as an alternative level 9, since it is interrupted on your opponent's turn, but what this card basically says is whenever you make this card, you're usually drawing 2 cards off this with its effect, since you're used to using at least a Mole Cricket and a Gary along with the Camellia. Sometimes you even draw 3 cards if you have Sunflower and Hugin. You make a Sunflower and Hugin. So getting cards to hand for Runick Deck is really good. I think that should be obvious, and just it also the fact that it digs deep to get you snowballing and gets you your engine, and also can act like an instruction, and also discard Sacred Trees from hand. It does a lot. It doesn't come up usually every game. It only comes up in the weird game states, but in the weird game states, you know, I've made this a couple times. It's come up clutch. And Omega is, the theory was you could use Omega to return Fountain. That's like very flawed reasoning, because you got to think about the situations of when that's actually relevant. Because if you're using this to return Fountain during your opponent's standby phase, just to be able to use it, just to be able to add it back, and then establish Fountain and use it 2 turns later, like those are like some, I don't know what game state you're in where you can actually pull that off. Because if you can get if you're in a position to make Omega and like not get steamrolled by your opponent's board and be able to add back Fountain and use it in 2 turns, like you're in such a favorable position. Like I reckon you might not even need the Fountain, because I have won games where I lost my Fountain before, but because, you know, usually those game states I'm in such a commanding position already that I didn't need the additional resources, and I already had like a setup board decently enough. And also, if you're losing, like if you're on the back pedal and your opponent banishes your Fountain and then you have the Omega, like this is not helping you. You're probably gonna die by the time you get it passes back to you, like, and you can actually take advantage of the Fountain. So what Cyber More Omega is that I use more often is literally it's part of my end board, because on the end boards where I mentioned you still can use Fountain 2 times, where you pop it with Bear and then use Summon Gary. How you clear the Gary from the EMZ is to usually with Camellia, and you synchro into an Omega, so you get a level 8 synchro that does something, and then you loop a card, and then that clears the EMZ that allows you to summon another Runick monster and then trigger Fountain again. That's usually the boards where I summon Omega the most. So again, maybe if you had Cyber Slash Harpy Lady, it's arguably that could be better, although if you're making this turn 1 as part of your board, the handling is pretty fine too. And I'll definitely show off how to do how to still draw multiple, how to still use Fountain multiple times in the replays coming up. Alright, first replay, we're playing against our opponent who is from the slums, and we're about to send them back to the slums with what we're about to do with them this turn 1. So we go Hugin, pitch Sacred Tree, the God combo, add Fountain, no interruptions, 6. So now we got Blessing. And this is the standard opening. Play Fountain, play Camellia, dump Mole Cricket, revive Mole Cricket with Blessing, mill 2, keep play on the field, get Sunflower, add Freezing Curses with Tip, and then draw 3 off Tip because we milled a Runick spell. And then Foolish Burial Goods and Sacred Tree, get another Blessing. Now we're gonna sync into Coral Dragon, and then I'm gonna Freezing Curses out of Gary, and then we make Babrone and draw a card. And here's where we're gonna use the Fountain twice in 1 turn still with just the limited Fountain. So Naturia Blessing, bring back Camellia. What you need is off the Fountain draw, post the first Fountain draw, you need 2 more Runics to hand, and you need the ability to make a Baron. If you can make a Baron plus have 2 Runics in hand, you're free to pop your own Fountain with the Baron, which then lets you summon this Gary to the field, and then Gary will add back the Fountain, and then you synchro the Gary and the Camellia into an Omega, and then activate Fountain again, and then your spare Runick spell, you can use it again to summon another say a Hugin to the field, and then you get an extra draw 2. So it's another pot of greed, except we milled an extra card off the Camellia, so we actually get to draw 3 cards. So we drew 6 cards on Fountain turn 1 still, and handled a different one. EEV. Oh, that's a nice EEV. That's a nice EEV you got right there. And then our opponent summons Fender, and Fender does absolutely nothing to this deck. They're gonna max see me, and we're gonna let that go. I'm not gonna Baron negate that. And here, Mo Cricket gets out Camellia, and they're gonna trigger Fender, which just gets eaten by the Naturia Sunflower. So goodbye Fender. Nice knowing you. Fender will literally not do anything to your deck ever. This is probably the deck that plays around Fender the best out of any decks in the game. They're gonna Coup Clock, which you can just Naturia Sunflower that as well, so they can't activate either of those spell traps. And then they're gonna summon Ariana, which gets eaten by freezing curses. And then we're gonna chain Tip. Tip is gonna add Runick Destruction. I believe I use Runick Fountain right now to draw 3 cards. They're on multiple Coup Clock, and yeah, draw 3. Still have not used the Baron Negate yet. And he moved the battle phase to attack over the Hugin. That just lets me summon another Hugin for free. So probably don't try to clear this Hugin all the time. I mean, I understand it's tempting, but letting me just play any bad Runick spell by giving me a free EMZ, sometimes. It doesn't matter in this case, they control cards, but sometimes it's not always correct to attack over the Hugin and the EMZ. Sometimes you just want to leave it there on the field. And end phase, I'm going to Naturia Blessing, and I'm not going to lie, I forgot I was under max seat. And it literally does not matter, but I'm just going to summon Camellia to send a Sacred Tree to add another Camellia. And then end phase, I'm going to also Destruction, pop one of their back rows, so now they banish 10 cards from them. And they have 3 cards. They control 4 cards, one of them is an EEV in hand. And now I'm going to Baron pop their back row, which is going to change Welcome Lap, and it's not even the big Welcome Lap, so I'm just going to max it. I don't really care that this resolves. And they're going to summon out a big lady, which is going to trigger Camellia, and then they're going to chain their furniture to get a back row to protect their lovely lady, which or the Lady Labrynth, which I'll just pop with the Flashing Fire right now, so before it's protected. So now they just have a trap face down, and then we bring back the Sunflower. They're gonna use Coup Clock, and I'm just gonna not let them get the Coup Clock back for free, because again I get a free negate of Camellia just by milling 2. And now we're gonna Dispelling, summon Hugin. This is where that came in. I got a free EMZ to summon the Hugin to, which allows me to draw 3 cards off the Fountain again. Now I have 8 cards in hand, and I'm gonna Destruction the back row, banish 15 cards from them, and then we're gonna synchro into Barkion, and yeah, that's yeah, man. Sometimes it doesn't matter how many fountains you have, you're still playing a Runick combo. To further expand on the point I made about Fenrir versus this deck, last game, this game is a perfect example of just check-baiting Kashtira Fenrir. So normal summon Camellia, get Sacred Tree, and get Blessing, and then you're gonna Droll me. Yeah, this is I wanted to play around Maxi if my opponent was inexperienced against Naturia combo decks by getting Naturia Blessing first. That if I then use a Runick Quick Play spell and they chain Maxi, I can just chain the Blessing to it, and then that would play around Maxi pretty decently. But they just Drolled me instead, so I play around the wrong hand trap. It's okay, because even without access to any Runick cards, because I'm obviously not going to activate these if I'm under Droll right now. I can't add Fountain. I can still Mole Cricket, build 2 of Camellia, and then get a Sunflower out, and then this gets Beast out, and then when you make Beast, Mole Cricket revives itself. So this is still Beast, Sunflower with a Camellia Engrave, and 2 Runick spells. So this is still pretty good. And our opponent starts Fender. And as soon as they summon Fender, because Fender is bigger than Beast, we get to summon Camellia and Mole Cricket out. They cannot trigger Fender at any point. If they trigger Fender at any point, the Fender just dies, because we have the Sunflower on the field. So they opt to let it go and not do anything after my Mole Cricket effect. That lets me send Sacred Tree for free without chain blocking myself. What they could have done is they could have changed Fender to the Mole Cricket. If you're going to use Fender at all, the best plays would be after using Mole Cricket, Because that way I couldn't use Camellia effect to dump Sacred Tree, because then I would chain block myself from being able to negate the Fender with the Sunflower. So by triggering Fender, it prevents me from sending with Camellia. Their Fender still dies though, so maybe they want to keep their Fender, right? And they're gonna summon a Zoodiac. Oh no, this Zoo's the scariest deck in the game. The tier 0 Mega Threat according to NBT. Then suddenly Borbo gets my Cricket back, and I'm actually just gonna pop their Zoo in the battle phase. They're gonna run over my Beast, which is fine, because they're gonna Barrage, right? And that lets them Barrage and get another Zoo out, but as soon as they do that, I get to summon back the Naturia Beast. And they're gonna lose their patience and trigger Fender, in which case that's gonna give me my Sunflower proc to try and deal with the Kashtira Fender, which will... Out of the entire thing, the Fender could absolutely do nothing. The best they could do was enter battle phase, attack over Beast, but then the minute they summon literally anything else, I just bring the Beast back of Camellia. Because then, like, yeah, again, the Fender, you don't worry about the Fender. Fender will never also pop your Fountain for that reason, because the Naturia monsters do a way better job protecting it. Next game, and we're actually going second this time, and our opponent's playing Kashtira. So they're gonna start with Unicorn, and obviously we don't run any hand traps besides Maxi, so most of the time we're gonna be able to do their full board. And they get the Fender, and then they get the Scareclaw. We have this Ring Droplets in hand that does nothing in this matchup. They're gonna Rise Heart, fortunately not banish our Fountain, but banish 2 Mole Crickets, and they're gonna Rise Heart Pass. But what was I talking about? A Rise Heart Pass, okay, just lost to a tip. Okay, this board, it just lost to a tip. And I guess you're gonna see why they Rise Heart passed. So that's gonna give me Flashing Fire, and then I'm gonna chain Flashing Fire to the Arise Heart, and they're just gonna banish it so that I can have 3 banished runic spells. So at least that does something. And they're actually on Vanquish Soul, so that's why they made Fender pass, or they made a Rise Heart pass, because they're not actually playing Cash, they're just playing a very heavy Cash slash in Vanquish Souls, which they could have used for more consistency to add Rosin, because it appears they do not have a Rosin. So they're gonna Snow Devil out I believe they're Mad Love, yeah, and deal 1k to me, and I'm gonna summon Hugin, pitch the Sacred Tree, the Dream, and they're gonna trigger the Mad Love, which I'm actually just gonna Droplet. This is rude. I don't need to negate this at all. What they're adding is probably not going to be relevant, but you know, I'm just negating it just to put them on even less cards than they would normally have. So the Droplets negates, and then the Hugin adds me the Fountain, and then the Sacred Tree triggers, which adds me the Blessing. Now I'm gonna activate. They're gonna summon Camellia, and they're gonna chain Caesar Valius, which is, I'm perfectly fine with this, because this Caesar Valius, there's not enough cards. If you know that there's not enough cards in their hand for it to actually do the scary destroy effect, because their hand was Kashtira monsters, which they used to go on the field. So now they're just gonna make the Caesar Valius unaffected, which I'll be honest with you, you can have it. This card it's just a vanilla right now. It's just a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now they're gonna summon Kashtira Scareclaw before I get a chance to summon out my Sunflower, just so they can banish fields and add back their Fender. And now I'm gonna... I forgot about this. This is most satisfying Master Duel screenshots. Send this to Joshua Schmidt. Just to make his day. Camellia cost to mill 2 for Mole Cricket, mill 2 Sacred Trees. Hit... add double Blessing to hand. Now I have all 3 Blessings, I hit all 3 Sacred Trees, yeah, and as soon as you know that the game is over, like as soon as something like that happens, right? I'm gonna Hugin, and then I'm gonna draw off the Fountain, just draw 2, Pot of Greed, and then go into Stardust Charge Warrior, draw another card, go into a Baron, and Baron is gonna pop the Scareclaw Cash. I'm gonna use one of my Blessings to revive the Camellia, and then use Runick Dispelling, summon Gary. Now I'm gonna make a Flying or Omega, because I don't fear the Caesar Valiant at all, and I'm just gonna hand loop them for 1. Hand loop them their Dr. Mad Love, bring back the Camellia, make a Nat Beast, and then summon back the Mole Cricket, and end on Baron, Nat Beast, Sunflower, Naturia Blessing for the Camellia, and a Freezing Curse. That's gonna draw me 2 once it resolves. Seems pretty good. And they're just gonna try to enter battle phase immediately, which they're gonna max C, and yeah, I'm actually just gonna negate the max C with Baron because I know that one card in hand is literally just Fender. Then they're gonna chain Caesar Valius, to which case I'm gonna actually just chain Sunflower because I know they don't have a spell in hand anymore, so I don't really need the Nat Beast. So there goes the Caesar Valius, and now all they have is a Fender and a Dream. And I'm going to summon Camellia, they're going to summon Fender, on the summon of Fender I bring back Sunflower, they're going to ender battle phase, attack over Sunflower, and try to add, in which case we're going to chain the Runick Freezing Curse, and then we're going to pause the Greed and negate the Fender so that they're literally on nothing. And yeah, there's your Rosin. Yeah, draw 2. Draw into another Runick spell. I love drawing the evenly, so that you know when you're drawing evenly, the match is over, because that means you're resolving a fountain multiple times a turn, and it doesn't matter if you're drawing dead cards. So this is another game where we go second, and honestly, we're playing against Vanquish Souls, and our opponent apparently knows that the Vanquish Soul Naturia matchup is so bad that they just misplay for us. So we're gonna begin with Rosin. You'll see later. They're gonna add Jiaolong, and then Rosin, reveal Jiaolong, special Jiaolong, which we're gonna chain Maxi to. They're gonna chain Ash. Get rid of that fire in your hand, sir. And then they're gonna go into Rock, and then Rock, add back the Rosin, and go my turn. So I was debating on whether to prioritize Droplet or Evenly. So I eventually was gonna believe the draw phase, and they're gonna Maxi me. So I guess I will chain Maxi, and they're gonna chain Retaliating C. So why the hell are they on Retaliating C, bro? Are you really that afraid of Pearly, my dude? So in order to play around this, because enemy's gonna get banished, this is random situation number 69 where Droplet is like just an insane card. I chain two Runick spells, and then I use Droplet to send to the grave before the Retaliating C is summoned. That way they get sent to the grave as opposed to getting banished on Chain Resolution after Retaliating C summons itself. Well, yeah, there you go. And you're banished another Rosin. You're gonna summon a Retaliating C, and I'm gonna Hugin, I'm gonna just pitch the Evenly match right now because I can't use it anymore at the fountain. And I'm gonna activate Fountain, and I'm gonna pop the Retaliating C. This might have been the incorrect choice. This is me being greedy, trying to draw 3 cards instead of 2. Whereas if I just let the Retaliating C on the field, they wouldn't have a Maxi on their turn, which you're gonna see the Maxi make quite a difference. But I suppose they could just link it off anyway. So yeah, maybe it was fine going for the draw 3. Yeah, so Fountain put back 3, and then they're gonna Retaliating C, they're gonna add a Maxi. And I'm gonna draw into Mole Cricket and set Naturia Blessing. And this is where my opponent should win the game from here, because right now all I have is it's basically Mole Cricket plus a Blessing, and like a Runick spell that doesn't really do much. I can only really upstart Goblin with this. They're gonna Rosin into the Mole Cricket zone, and I'm gonna use Mole Cricket. And they're gonna chain Maxi, yep. And here, I'll try to be a little cheeky here, okay? I intentionally put the Camellia in the zone. I wanted to trigger the Rosin for me, I wanted them to just bait out the Rosin to kill my Camellia, to just please, dude, please. No, they did not fall for it, so they're gonna actually do the smart thing and enter battle phase and clear everything but the Camellia. The Rune's gonna, Hugin's gonna put it back. And they're gonna use Heavy Borgar on their Jiaolong. It's gonna trigger Camellia, and they're gonna pop the Rosin here. So that was maybe a misplaced zone for me, trying to bait them. Instead, I was the one that got baited. So now all I can do is summon the Mole Cricket out, and then give them another draw. That's gonna trigger Heavy Borgar and Rocket the Vanquish and the Rock. So they're gonna draw a card, and then they're gonna special them the Mad Love, and then their Mad Love is gonna get Snow Devil. and they're gonna set a card, and they're gonna reveal reveal their Magnus so they can summon the Jiaolong. And here, okay, Donner, okay, Donner, cool. Donner gonna pop? No? Okay, Alsa, okay, scoop. Bro couldn't resolve Maxi twice against me. Couldn't even out the Mole Cricket in the end. Like the smart play was to make the Donner and just out the Mole Cricket. You know, if you out the Mole Cricket, right? I'm gonna have to spend more resources. Their Snow Devil actually didn't matter because I actually had the destruction in hand, so we could have actually had a decent game going to the grind game next turn. I'm just gonna destruction their Snow Devil and then draw a card, and then I have Camellia plus Blessing plus 2 new cards, and I would have the Mole Cricket on the field. So like I might have been able to just win that anyways through sheer advantage because this deck is like crazy, and again the Vanquish Soul matchup is not fantastic, but our opponent just gave it to us. So thank you very much. Well, here we're playing a game against Unlimited Banless Flute. What do I mean by this? Hard open map Rabina. Yeah, but look, man, my opponent is literally more skilled than me. Like it's literally a skill issue. There's nothing I could do about it. Like I'm just not good enough. And they're gonna add a DD Crow too. Thankfully, DD Crow is not very good against this deck in particular. They're gonna sack for end pin, get that back, and add the wins and put back the mega. Oh, okay. Maybe they weren't playing Unlimited here. I see they drew all 3 tribute monsters essentially. They drew 2 tribute monsters and searched the 3rd one with Eaglin. I see. This is the average Flu experience. So my turn. I enter battle phase. See that they actually did not even search the trap. They actually did not have the trap. Okay, so cool. Now I'm gonna Runick Dispelling and they're gonna shift it. Like, okay, I get that. Like their hand is like the most bipolar thing I've ever seen. Like 2 tributes, but then also shifter Rabina map. Like what the hell is that? Like, so yeah, now I'm gonna have to deal with Rabina map plus shifter. So I'm not even gonna activate you. My win condition is hoping this Runick Freezing Curse sticks. If they have the what's it called, Avenue Adventure plus all that shit they had in their hand turn, like literally the better player. I'm sorry, like that person's gonna win the Duelist Cup. So they're gonna on the Eagle Summit. I'm gonna Freezing Curses them and pray that it sticks. That they don't have some random book of them or anything. And thankfully they don't, and we banished 1 copy of map. I think most people are on 2, so that's actually bad because they had this card called Toucan they added. So yeah, I actually did not want to banish that for them. That's why this is sometimes a weird matchup. And they're gonna set a card that's presumably not the map. Draw phase, I'm gonna Slumber for Hugin, and then Hugin pitch the Naturia or Sega Tree, and here's where the Crow actually comes in. This is the one time where Crow is actually pretty good against this deck. So when I discard Sega Tree for cost, maybe I should have seen that coming and played around it, but you know, Drop It's pretty good in this matchup, so I didn't really want to discard that. And here comes the Fountain. Gonna normal Mole Cricket, sack Mole Cricket, get Camellia plus Sunflower, and then send another Sega Tree, and then get back. And they were you know, if that back row was nothing, yeah, they were probably gonna lose that game. I draw any Runick spell off the Stardust Charge Warrior. It's Curtains. I have another. Or what's it called? I have another Blessing that I can use to revive to make Baron, and then I also have the Droplet backup plus the Fountain. So yeah, you know, it wasn't pretty playing through Rabina map shifter, but yeah, that's evenly catches a lot of decks. So yeah, someone go tell Joshua Smith that Naturia Runick is still playable, and I'm not even counting out the possibility of me possibly using this in second stage. I know that it has other problems, such as being a slow deck in second stage, but really, this deck has some decent matchups against the top decks. And As for mature Runick combo, or not mature, but like Runick combo decks in the future, I want to look into Bishio Runick. The problem is that that SP Little Knight is such an important card to that deck. It's like integral to how the deck works. It's like literally the one card that's holding the entire deck together and merging every part of the Bishio Runick strategy and keeping it consistent. We don't have that yet, so it's gonna be a little weird playing that and playing Bishio Runick without SP Little Knight. I might see if I pull the rest of the cards, I might check that out too. Although I don't think that's gonna be better than Naturia Runick right now with 3 Sacred Trees. Just keep in mind this card's not definitely not a 3 in the TCG. So until that ever happens, I believe that this is or until we get SP Little Knight at the very least, I believe this is still gonna be the best Runick combo deck that you can play right now with one fountain.